Hi friends, and welcome back to StarsTree, where we break free from work addiction. I'm Sarit. Today I'd like to talk about what is the ideal world for workaholics. My dream world as a workaholic, to satisfy that workaholic drive within me, would be a world in which I could always overperform with an externally imposed limit and be appreciated for my essential contribution. This way, I can contribute significantly and still take care of myself. This is a world in which there is an actual maximum to how much you can invest in your work. But in the real world, especially today, it is almost the opposite. In our world, you can work and 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 work. Many jobs today allow us to work anytime and from anywhere. As workaholics, we think working extremely hard is the right thing, the noble thing, the important thing, the contributing thing, and the brave thing. But after the contribution and the right thing is done, we continue working since it is hard for us not to work when there is work. That's our weakness, where we are most vulnerable. Here, I'd like to suggest a strategy to try and use our strength and the grit that we usually bring to work to help us and support us in allowing the vulnerability that we have toward work. I mean, understanding and accepting that there is endless work. The brave thing would be not to tackle that work with work, but to surrender to the discomfort in a way and tend to other things in our lives, such as our bare necessities. And yes, love and joy are amongst the most important of them. Here is a very relevant quote from the wonderful researcher and storyteller Brené Brown. Vulnerability is the core of shame and fear and our struggle for worthiness. But it appears that it's also the birthplace of joy, of creativity, of belonging, of love. Let's do a quick comparison between the imaginary ideal world for workaholics and how we can cope with our workaholism tendency in the complex but amazing real world. We'll do that by examining the three components of work addiction. So the first work addiction component we examine is the fact that we work more than expected despite harmful consequences. In the imaginary ideal world, there will be explicit restrictions on when and where we can work. These would allow for some overwork to contribute extra and be appreciated, but without taxing our well-being. Now, in order to live ideally in the complex but wonderful real world, we want to utilize our urge or our drive that usually navigates us to exhausting ourselves with work for a purpose that would serve us. We want to use our drive to invest in the actual purpose in a sustainable way without us sacrificing ourselves, stealing the spotlight. And yes, I know it's not intentional, but this is what inevitably happens when we are addicted to work. As human beings, we all naturally have this drive to accomplish that we can work with and channel in a way that would create a beautiful life. But many of us don't know or never learn how to harness this drive in a way that would add to our lives. Viktor Frankl, in Man's Search for Meaning, called this drive tension. And he said, "It can be seen that mental health is based on a certain degree of tension, the tension between what one already achieved and what one is yet to accomplish, or the gap between what one is and what one should become. Such a tension is inherent in the human being and therefore is indispensable to mental well-being." Maxwell Maltz called this drive or tension urge in psychocybernetics. This universal urge is an instinct which, when used correctly, urges us to bet on ourselves, to take a chance on our own creative potentialities. A man who will not take a chance on himself must bet on something. He is talking about gambling or alcohol abuse, but this definitely also, or even more so, applies to work addiction. Let's bet on our purpose, on our worth, not on our health or our well-being. Let's learn to use this urge in a way that serves us. The second component is working compulsively due to internal pressures. In the imaginary ideal world, hopefully the externally imposed limit to how long and the physical location from where we can work would curb those inner pressures. So, what about the real world? What are we as human beings ultimately pursuing? I love referring to Maslow's hierarchy of needs when it comes to trying to understand our motivations. So, in a nutshell, it seems like we're pursuing security in the form of income, love, belongingness, self-esteem, and actualization. Accordingly, our goal would be to supply these needs in a way that would curb those internal pressures. I love the following quote from writer and journalist Johann Hari. "The opposite of addiction is not sobriety. The opposite of addiction is connection." So, in the real world, to feel secure and in control of our safety and belongingness, we want to learn and practice unconditional self-love and self-esteem. Take back our own power and look for these needs in ourselves and not outside ourselves, where we will never have the same control. This might require adjustments and some time to learn, and might sound a bit out there to some of you, but it is so worth it, as it is an effective and sustainable antidote to these internal pressures. Many of us are taught about the salvation of hard work, but I think Viktor Frankl is spot on when he says that the salvation of man is through love and in love. The closest person to ourselves, the one that keeps talking to us, criticizing and judging in many situations, is us. I think there is endless salvation potential in willing to learn to love ourselves. The third and last component of work addiction is the fact that we are preoccupied with work, even while not working. In the imaginary ideal world, there would never be any issues or challenges at work that would cause us to be preoccupied with it even while not working. In the real world, however, many aspects are not under our control, and challenges and issues happen. Even when things are going smoothly, they are changing all the time and can take over our serenity outside of work. As workaholics that work around the clock, it's no surprise that what occupies our time also occupies our mind. In my opinion, the key is to learn to cultivate and monitor balance in our mindset and perspective. Once work is not everything in our lives, is not who we think we are, we can see our priorities much clearer. Now, I want to stress that I'm not pretending that these adjustments and skills are automatic or easy, but I'm definitely saying that they are possible and can greatly transform our lives for the better. We learned and absorbed many thought patterns that got us hooked on work. In a similar way, it is also possible to learn new habits and other thought patterns that serve us better. By the way, if these 3 components of work addiction didn't seem familiar to you, please watch my video about what is work addiction. I link it in the description box down below. Do you think you have an addiction to work? I want to hear from you. What would have been the ideal world for you? Let me know in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and come visit me over at StarsTree.com, where we break free from work addiction. I'll see you there.